Okay, let's jump right into this wild ride. Love is Blind France, Season 1, Episode 3, and oh boy, where do we even begin? This episode is absolutely packed. From shock exits and secret betrayals to heart-pounding proposals, emotional breakdowns, and some truly French levels of drama and tenderness. Episode 3 is where the experiment really starts to shake people to their core. If you thought Love is Blind's formula couldn't get more intense, just wait. Paris has something to say about that. Let's set the stage. The initial excitement of talking through the pods is starting to give way to some very real anxieties. People have formed emotional bonds. Some strong, some messy, all fragile. And as choices start to be made, there's no avoiding the fallout. We start this episode with a burst of romance. Cynthia is absolutely swept off her feet by a bold proposal. There's a mixture of nerves and pure excitement, with her fiancé apologizing for his sweaty palms and everyone gushing at how much better they think their partner looks than they even imagined. Cynthia is caught off guard. She's taller than her match, which, in true French fashion, she worries about for a moment, but quickly realizes doesn't matter. What matters is chemistry, and that moment of speechless the feeling of something real taking shape across an invisible wall. But while love is blooming for some, thunderclouds are brewing. Suddenly, an announcement cuts through the honeymoon phase. The Z Galleon is no longer part of the experiment. This is a big deal. The singles are supposed to be completely sealed off from the world, but Galleon broke the cardinal rule. The men are furious and baffled. The rumor mill ignites. Did he sneak a phone? Did he meet someone outside the pods? The answer's not immediately clear, but what is clear is that this has thrown everyone, particularly Tatiana, for a loop. She'd really connected with Galleon, feeling like he ticked all the right boxes for her, brought her laughter and light-heartedness, and then, poof, he's gone. No closure, just rumors and heartbreak. One of the other men gently tries to console her, telling her she deserves someone responsible and loyal. Again, underscoring that these pod connections are about more than just flirting. People are laying their emotional truths bare. And then, the bombshell. Through whispered pod gossip, it finally comes out. Galleon broke the rules by actually seeing a woman outside of the experiment while staying at the hotel, and not just once. For Tatiana, this is devastating, but also eye-opening. Despite the blow, she finds comfort in the idea that maybe this was fate keeping her safe. Maybe this was the universe saying, not him, move on. There's still the possibility of connection with someone else, most notably Yannick, but trust has taken a hit. The emotional roller coaster doesn't stop there. We see Van, who's a bit reserved and not used to this kind of vulnerable dating under a microscope. He's cautious, shaped by a past where loyalty wasn't always reciprocated, and his culture's expectation of modesty. He connects with a contestant who values the same things: stability, faithfulness, kindness. She's tired of boyfriends with broad definitions of loyalty, and Van, who has been nothing but solid and true, really stands out. For her, the idea of being someone's number one, of not having to compete for affection, is deeply comforting, something she hasn't had before. Meanwhile, Mai is reassured by her honesty about her life and her past. Elsewhere, Sabrina is trying to figure out if she and her connections see the world in the same way. They both want a symbiotic, all-in relationship with trust and affection, They practically sign a verbal relationship contract in the pod. Both are a little wary, shaped by difficult parental relationships that left emotional marks. And they're here because they don't want another failed connection to haunt them. They're hoping, maybe, that the kind of love they've always wanted is waiting through that wall. But with all this emotional openness comes real risk. Charles is completely torn between two very different women, Zeke's Julie and Sarah. He can't deny the chemistry with both, but Sarah puts her foot down and gives him an ultimatum. She doesn't want to be second choice, she wants clarity. There's palpable tension as she questions whether their differences are too much, whether vulnerability is possible, whether he can be the kind of partner who respects her boundaries and values. In the pods, vulnerability is a currency, and withholding it can cost you everything. Charles finally decides Sarah is the one for him. The fallout with Julie is heart-wrenching. She's blindsided, unable to understand how such a strong connection and talks of a future could get tossed aside. She suspects some gossip about her openness around sexuality has tainted Charles' view. It's a painful moment. Julie feels misrepresented, like maybe a woman can't win if she's too honest, too open. Still, she doesn't back down, telling Charles that if he needs proof of her loyalty, he just needs to look at how she's been with him. Meanwhile, other connections deepen. Gifts are exchanged. Small tokens like a mug carried everywhere, or someone's grandmother's bracelet. Physical anchors to invisible bonds. There's talk of families. How hard it is to care for a sick parent with Alzheimer's, or how marriages serve as personal blueprints for forever. These moments ground the budding romances in something real and lasting. It's not just about sexual chemistry, but about being there for each other in the moments that matter. But the stress is relentless. Julian confesses he almost quit, shaken by his feelings for someone outside the experiment. His honesty is greeted with understanding, but the damage is done. His on-pod connections are left feeling unsafe, anxious, emotionally exposed. Sabrina, torn between the comfort and certainty Van Mai offers and the fluttery excitement she felt with Julian, decides to go with stability. The subsequent goodbye with Julian is surprisingly raw. They both cry, not regretting what they learned about each other, but mourning what might have been. And then, the proposals start dropping. Van Mai, in a moment of pure vulnerability, tells Sabrina he's ready for forever. He even reads a heartfelt note, and, yes, he goes down on one knee. Sabrina, beaming, immediately says yes. Both are overwhelmed with joy and disbelief. It seemed possible for others, but not for themselves. The engagement is tender and real, a high point in an episode full of complicated feelings. At the same time, Cindy and Yannick face their own crossroads. With Cindy, Yannick has stability and peace. With Tatiana, he feels fire and excitement, but also turbulence. Yannick can't decide. Tell Cindy he craves the spark but is drawn to her steadiness. Cindy, mature and grounded, makes her pitch for real love that doesn't burn out in a flash. There's a sensory exercise, an imaginary kiss through the wall, to try and bridge the gap. But the tension is unresolved, and what should be a dream match is now hanging in the balance. Tatiana, meanwhile, is tired and breaking down under the emotional weight, just wanting to be chosen and not to fight anymore. Both ladies know what's at stake, and Yannick's indecision is agonizing. The episode wraps up with the engaged couples finally meeting face to face. There's nervous energy, tears, nerves, and joy as they actually see and touch for the first time. The big question, will the physical chemistry match the emotional connection? For most, the magic is there. Hugs, kisses, and delighted shock give way to the realization that this is only the beginning. But not everyone gets that fairy tale ending. Faced with his feelings, one of the men admits to his match that he just can't propose. Something's missing. It's a raw but honest close to his journey in the pods, and proof that even in this romantic bubble, there's no guarantee. So, to sum all this up, episode 3 of Love is Blind France is an emotional hurricane. Intimacy and scandal, devotion and betrayal, heartbreak and sudden joy. The French cast brings a level of emotional intensity and openness that's both inspiring and brutal, and the lines between excitement and devastation blur as choices are made. Through all the tears and celebrations, the episode asks a pressing question. Can you really fall deeply in love with someone you've never seen? Or is love, French or otherwise, always a leap of faith? If you made it this far, I'd love to know. Who are you rooting for? Were you as shocked as I was by Gallien's exit? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit like if you enjoyed this recap. Share with your Love is Blind fan crew. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives as the season gets even juicier. See you in the next one.